Get it? Hey, happy Friday to you. It's October 28th, time for this week's Friday Funnies, and there's only 3 days left until Halloween, possibly the most overrated holiday of the year. Did you know, for instance, that more money is spent on decorations for Halloween than is spent on decorations for Labor Day, President's Day, and Arbor Day combined? You know, my neighbor, he goes all out. He's got this big spider web going up his house with an enormous spider in it. And I'll be honest with you, it looks pretty fake. I mean, if that spider was real, there would be a silk-wrapped Orkin man in the web just waiting for dinner. Well, I tried for a while to figure out what to be for Halloween before Eddie and I decided on this. And for a while, I was going to be Bernie Madoff. And that way, when the kids came to the door, I was planning a reverse trick-or-treat. I was going to convince them to give me all of their candy with the promise that they'd get 5 times more in about a week. But then I figured out, the kids in this neighborhood just aren't that gullible. Well, I saw some scary stuff this week. 3 things popped to mind. The first is a performance artist in New York City who gave birth in a museum as part of an exhibit. Number 2 is Lindsay Lohan deciding to pose naked for Playboy. And the third scariest thing I saw is a restaurant in Michigan now serving a 338-pound hamburger. Well, now, if you're like me, you're thinking, tell me a little bit more about that burger. Well, it's at Mally's Sports Grill and Bar in the Detroit area, and they are serving up this 540,000-calorie behemoth for only $2,000. And it comes with fries and a small drink. Delivery is extra, as is the about $400 tip. Well, as you get ready for Halloween, I want you to take just a few minutes to put a good scare into yourself with the knowledge that the people I'm about to talk about in this week's Funnies walk among us. Last week, you remember, I talked about a man in England who got stuck inside of a toilet seat. Remember that? He put it over his head, then tried to get it over his whole body. Eventually had to be freed by the fire department. And that was pretty stupid. But this week, 2 more guys got stuck in even stupider things. In Vallejo, California, a 21-year-old man bet his friends $100 that he could fit into a child swing at the playground. They took the bet, so the man lubed himself up with liquid laundry detergent and squeezed his way into the toddler swing. And just as he was celebrating his victory, it became apparent to him that he was stuck and couldn't get out. So his friends did what guy friends do in a situation like this. They laughed at him, left him there, and all went home. And it was 9 hours later. Somebody finally heard him, called the fire department. They came, cut the chains on the swing, and then they used a cast cutter to cut him out of the swing. And of course, his friends all came back to see that. Meanwhile, in Orange County, California, a guy was climbing a tree when he decided to see if he could fit inside the hollow trunk. Well, guess what? He got stuck too. And emergency crews were called after passers-by said, "We heard the tree crying." And then we saw a man's head sticking out of it. So what do we have? Men trying to fit into small, tight places. Calling Dr. Freud, Dr. Sigmund Freud. In Pittsfield, Massachusetts, a convicted sex offender admitted to authorities that he kissed and fondled a cardboard cutout of a woman. Charlie Price, 57-year-old man, wandered into a Rite Aid drugstore and immediately spotted the sunglasses display, which featured a cutout of a very attractive woman wearing the shades. Well, Charlie apparently couldn't contain himself, and he started hugging the cardboard cutout and then proceeded to kiss and lick its face. Well, police were called, and Charlie was taken away, charged with simulated sex with a simulated person. Brody Hall from Erie, Pennsylvania likes to flash people. You know, hey, everybody's got to have a hobby, and since it's so close to Halloween, he decided to use his talent to scare children. But rather than waiting on a street corner like most flashers do, Brody decided that the best way to do it was to go door to door. So he'd ring a doorbell in the neighborhood. When the door opened, so did his trench coat. And he did this house after house until he rang the bell at Rich Chopin's house. Rich Chopin just so happens to be the police chief. So Brody is now in the Erie County Jail, where the inmates don't scare nearly as easily, and they actually look forward to a man with no pants going door to door. Hey, that's all I have for you this week. Have a wonderful Halloween. If you go out trick-or-treating, you might want to consider doing what I do. I don't really want any candy, so when I go up to the door, I ask for canned goods. It's a good idea in this economy. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Ooh. Pretty cool, huh?